Me, Kathy Hester, and my wife, Cheryl Purser, and our dog, Max Purser-Hester. Just kidding. He's not even made a peep at all until right this second, which is so typical of him. And I think that all the videos may begin this way if both of us are on here.
Yeah.
So I see some people are here. I only checked the number to make sure everything's really working. Say hello and what? No, you stay here. I'm probably going to get my computer because if I don't. Last time I did a live, which was 2 whole days ago, I didn't see any of the YouTube lives comments come through on this, so I may go grab something for the boo and look at the comments. So you guys, if you would make some comments, that'd be great. So once again, the subject of this is the starch solution. Are you afraid of it? Are you looking into it? What's going on? And we thought we would talk a little bit about kind of where we are, decisions we're making, things maybe that we're doing to try and help us keep in that. And so that's what we want to share. And we want to answer any questions you might have for us, either about the starch solution, what's making it easier for us to eat whole food, plant-based, no oil, recipe questions I'm willing to take, maybe reluctant spouses, because Cheryl was reluctant to join in on whole food, plant-based. And do you want to talk about that a minute while I'm going over? Because the fact that there's no comments yet leads me to believe that we are not seeing the comments. I do Facebook user, and I was able to see Facebook comments last time. So why don't you go ahead and just kind of talk about your experience, why you were reluctant and how that changed.
Well, I mean, I've always been reluctant about the whole vegan diet type thing. I wasn't too keen on giving up, like most people. I can't give up my cheese. Like, I don't want to give up bacon. I mean, there's, everybody has this one thing that they're like, oh, I just can't give that up. I can't give that up. And I ended up giving most of that up in 2019. And I did start eating vegan. And then over time, like through the pandemic and then after the pandemic, mostly after the pandemic, then I was like, I'm eating cheese again. Like I started eating cheese pizzas, and I still wasn't eating meat, but I was eating more vegetarian with, lots of dairy added in. And
you were eating more processed foods that had more oil in it. We both ate more processed foods over the pandemic.
Yeah, I got to where I just wanted convenience foods, and so I would stuff the freezer full of like quick heat up meals and cans of vegetarian chili and things like that, and never really was paying attention to how much, to the labels. I wasn't looking at the labels at all. I didn't care if it had oil in it. I was just like, this tastes good, I'm going to eat it. Keeps me from eating meat. But I was also feeling worse and worse and worse, and not putting 2 and 2 together, like most people, that the food was what was making me feel worse. I kept going, oh, well, it's because I'm not exercising as much, or, oh, well, I must have some kind of a little virus or something. I always had some excuse to why it was everything but the food. And then, when I did start trying to walk with her a lot and stuff, I couldn't walk as far as her without getting winded or having aches and pains and all this from just all the inflammation that I had. And I never put 2 and 2 together until she started doing the McDougall Plan. And, during that 12 days, I was right there beside her for like the first 4 days, I guess. Yeah. And I was watching all the videos with her, and, the whole food poisoning.
Well, I think Dr. McDougall's first lecture in the 12-day program is called Food Poisoning. Mm-hmm. And if you're familiar with Dr. McDougall at all, you've heard, it's the food. Everyone's like, why is this happening? Why do I feel this way? It's the food is his answer. And you think about that, and then, we had Dr. Letterman and Dr. I just forgot Alania's last name. I'm so sorry. But they are also kind of saying, it's the food and it's how you treat yourself, right? So there are all these things that we think are somehow external to us, like, oh, it's the pandemic. Oh, it's I hurt my arm, so I can't do this anymore. And a lot of times it really is the most simple answer. And I think it's Jackie is still this person too, but I could be wrong. Went to Dr. McDougall's live-in program 13 years ago, and that was the 10-day program. The only difference between the 10-day program and the 12-day program is the 12-day program is online now, so you do it from your house. And lost 80 pounds and stayed between 125 and 130, which is amazing. That's and great. Congratulations.
That's great.
So much on that. And we are not, sorry for the laptop, but I'm not seeing any of the YouTube questions, which is where, that was Anita. Okay, thank you, Anita, for saying that. Because as you can see, I just see Facebook user. Not helpful. We'll figure all this out. So let me come over here for a minute and see. Oh, Janice said, wow, just woke up and happened to see this, and I desperately need the planning help. And, I think we can all agree with that. We need planning help, too.
Yeah, because planning kind of saved my bacon yesterday. I had to go to the office to do some stuff. I was thinking that I was just going to pop in, do some pictures and stuff that I needed, and come right back home. Well, when I got there, one of the tickets I had put in, they were wanting to work on that, and before I knew it, it looked like I was going to be there all day. I didn't take any food with me. I had not had breakfast because I had to do my blood work before I went into the office, and I had to fast. So here I am, I'm at the office, and I have nothing with me, and I haven't had anything to eat, and it's 10:30 in the morning, and I usually would panic at that point. I would panic and I would just be like, Taco Bell, Burger King, something, right? Just get something in me. But I thought about it and I said, okay, what can I do? What do I have? And then I said, Kathy has put balsamics in the car. So I'm just going to order a salad from someplace and have them bring me a salad. And then I'll use the balsamic that's in the car and I'll use that for my dressing. So I went on Grubhub and I started to look for salad places, and I just happened to go to Chopped. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chopped, but
it's a salad chain, and it may or may not be in your area, but right now it's kind of like the holy grail of the bowl era again, and salads, and so look for a place that has like, you pick the stuff out of a line. So it's kind of like Chipotle style salad and bowl places. Cava was one we were going to a lot, but
it's a little harder.
It's hummus heavy, and their hummus does have oil in it. Yeah. So if you're just doing whole food plant-based and not doing no oil, that might be a great solution. But we found Bibimbap and Core Life, which are also chains, to be a little more friendly to the no oil. Or we're still getting a little bit in, but I feel like with hummus we're getting a lot. Because if you look at their Cava hummus on sale at Whole Foods, heavy. It has oil and tahini.
Yeah, so
it goes up.
So neither one of the places that we've been to together, Core Life or Bibimbap, are around the office. So I just started searching through, the salad places, because I really didn't want to go get a salad at Wendy's or something like that. I wanted to be able to just have something come to the office, me get my stuff out of the car, put it on there, and eat a salad. Well, surprisingly, when I started looking at their site, they actually have bowls. So I was able to get a bowl that had rice and quinoa mixture with kale, and I had just a little bit of tofu put on it. The tofu was just plain old tofu. It wasn't fried or anything like you get at some places. I was just really happy, and I picked all my toppings, and they actually had balsamic as an option, just plain balsamic as an option for a topping. And so I just had them do the whole mix-in that they do, and they chop it and do the whole mix-in thing. And when it came, I was like, this is perfect. I sent a picture to Kathy, and I was like, this is great. But they didn't put enough balsamic to make me happy, so I ended up out in the car, and Kathy had some. Were they from Well Your World?
No, they're California balsamics. We
yeah.
had some little bottles. So one of the things about planning is we hadn't used them before Cheryl used them yesterday, but I took some mini bottles. And you don't have to go out and buy mini bottles of vinegars. If you have a little thing, you can put that in, but I had some already. So we put 2 flavors. I think I put plain and regular,
like
plain
a
and smoky in the car. And then I have another one in my purse. So, and we have some salt and pepper because we're not SOS free. And I figured that gave us a backup of Wendy's. If we go to Wendy's and we get a baked potato, we have something we can put on it. Because I think, like with you, I think you did such a good job yesterday in planning and looking. Like, I get a little obsessive. So, like, before the first night, you get Wednesday night off in the 12-day program. All the other times you're there till like 8 o'clock at night. And we went grocery shopping, and I didn't bring balsamics or anything. And we ended up eating at P.F. Chang's. We got the steamed Buddhist feast and brown rice. Was pretty good. We did also because I was not doing well. My thyroid was too high.
We had them put the sauce on the side,
so we could dip a little if we wanted to. We did get the lettuce wraps with tofu, which were fairly oily, but that was
wouldn't
because
do that again.
I didn't. Yeah, we wouldn't do that again, and it was bad. I really was about to pass out, so it was just super bad planning. But before I had even looked to see what restaurants we could get something if something happened. And while going out is, unless you live in Sacramento or Santa Ana, wherever the doctors are making these restaurants want to have no oil food, knowing what some of your best options can be super helpful. So that's to me, that's the first thing you need to do, because you can't plan emergencies. Right? Like, you can't go, oh, I didn't know my blood sugar was going to crash or whatever happened. When my thyroid gets really overly high, I almost pass out sometimes if I don't eat right away. But then the second thing is to have some stuff in your car and or purse that you can amp up something you can get out, because you can always get a salad. Let's say worst case scenario, I hope that none of us, including us, have to just have a green salad for a meal. If you want to and you do it at your house, that's one thing. But when you go out and you're paying $15 for a plate of lettuce that was probably pre-washed in a bag, it gives me all the feels. But if you have balsamic in your car, that can be really helpful. Or you can even keep, if you thought P.F. Chang's might be an option when you're going out, you could whip up a little soy sauce or coconut amino, gingers, and garlic. Because it used to be that P.F. Chang's made a sauce, so you could get them to make it without any kind of oil in it, but they don't do that anymore. And I think what's good is that you kept a level head. You're like, I'm going to be really hungry very, very soon. Let me go ahead and think now before it's too late. So I think the more planning or thinking, and I would say find a list of restaurants that are close, that are 90%. Now, if you are SOS or SOFAS free, it's going to be even harder.
Yeah.
So I want to acknowledge that. However, even if you're doing that, chances are good. Most Asian restaurants have steamed vegetables and rice, and that you could put a balsamic. So you might want to, if that's going to be your go-to, maybe get one of California Balsamic's teriyaki vinegars or ginger vinegar, and then that would make it pretty delightful. So,
if I'd have waited till I just couldn't stand being hungry anymore, I would have panicked, and I probably would not have thought as clearly. So by realizing, the minute that I realized I'm not going anywhere towards the house for several more hours, I immediately took a break and said, let me get on Grubhub. Let me see what I can get delivered, what's around, so that I could make that decision before my hunger was trying to make that decision for me. And it worked out really well. And I'm actually kind of proud of myself, because I think I've told you before, like, the office is the place that I do bad things. The office is the place where people are very appreciative when I help them do something and they leave me candy on my desk as a thank you. I've got most of them trained now that that's not necessary, and so I get other things like little stickers got left for me this week, which was really nice.
That's really nice that they're thinking about it. And I think one of the things to note for people out there too is the reason people are thinking about that is because she's also expressing it. And I think there's a lot of fear, and Cheryl and I actually had some pretty good conversations, but I want to get to these questions too about this, but of how vulnerable and open do you want to be? Obviously, I'm like 175%. I am more open and honest about this than is possible. Because I think we see a lot of people live going on journeys like this and showing you what perfection looks like, and not showing you the struggles that they have, or mental struggles or whatever. So that's why we're wanting to do this.
And for us, it's a sustainability decision. Like, we know us, and we know where our weaknesses are, and so we have communicated with each other, and we have thought about it really, really hard about how important the planning is for us, so that we can have those times when we go to a vegan function in town.
Like, we went to the vegan Indian buffet that we told. Did we tell them about that? No, we were getting ready to go because we did this on Wednesday, didn't we, last week?
Yeah, we hadn't gone yet, but it was amazing. And
what a treat. And it was not no oil. And
No.
if you guys saw one of my treadmill videos, which is my new exciting endeavor, I talked about, we have clearly decided that our goal is 90 to 95% whole food, plant-based, no oil. We are not saying that should be your goal.
right.
But I think there's a lot of people out there, like Chef AJ is 100% Sophus. And she is amazing, and I adore her, and I love her. But if I did that, I would fail. And you have to see where you fall in that. So we want to be doing this. This isn't a diet till we lose 10 more pounds or 20 more pounds or anything like this. We want to be doing the same way of eating for the rest of our lives, for when we're in our 90s.
Yeah.
So doing it 90 to 95% means that once or twice a month we can go out somewhere and have a sauce that might have some oil in it, a tablespoon of sauce on something. So we're not going out and going, our 5% is deep fried tofu or
cheese pizza
or coconut gravy.
We're not going off the reservation to do this extra stuff. We have firm boundaries on what we will and won't do. We're very firm on that. It is always vegan.
It's always whole food, plant-based.
Yeah, it's always whole food, plant-based. We're staying away from the things that we know are slippery slope for me, like pizzas are slippery slope for me. So the thought of going, she's like, oh, well, you can have a pizza with no cheese on it. Well, that just that terrifies me. The idea of a pizza without cheese on it. I'm sure once I have one, it's going to be delicious. But right now, I don't even want to go there. I don't even want her to make something here at home like that yet, because I haven't got that out of my system yet. And as Dr. Lau says, pizza is not in season, and I do not want to open that season. So
you need to explain, because people are like, what is she talking about? What season? I didn't know pizza grew out in the summer. No. So he was just saying, Dr. Lyle talks a lot about, there was a time, it's a little different now that we're like, it's raspberry season, let's eat all the raspberries we can. Of course, now we will get raspberries from Brazil or Australia or somewhere else. But back in the day, you'd just be like, woohoo, it's apple season, it's berry season, it's this, and
Pumpkin season.
when it's there, you want it, but then as it's not there, then you don't really think about it as much until it becomes in season again. And so Cheryl is trying to think of some of those foods that she might crave in that way and go, maybe I get to have, I don't know, pumpkin spice creamer for a month, a year, or something like that, or making these goals. I'm not, again, you should be making your goals, not us. But that's what she means by in season.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we're sharing what we're doing in hopes that it may help somebody else.
Well, and we encourage you to do questions. That's why I have the laptop out. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm not paying good attention to you. I'm paying just as much attention to you down here as I am up here. But one thing, Judy from Ohio says, my husband is also very reluctant. I just need to do this and I don't know how on my own. And I want to say in the comments in YouTube, I posted the link to the free program, which is just you read about it through the web pages. It tells you all the foods to eat or not to eat, to be on the Starch solution. It gives you some good information. So that's one way. And I would say, and I get nothing for this. Let me be very clear. I am not an affiliate for the Starch Solution or the Dr. McDougall or his 12-day program. So I'm telling you this because I did it. I spent my hard-earned money doing it, and then I spent some more of my hard-earned money for Cheryl. That's how much I feel like it was worth my money. But we happen to have some money in savings and everybody doesn't, and it's not inexpensive. So I want to be clear that if you can afford it, I would recommend going into the McDougall 12-day program. I know they're having one, I think in October.
Yeah.
So, and I know October seems like forever away. When we signed up for the July program, it seemed forever away, and I was going to do a different program with somebody else, and I'm glad I didn't. So if you can do it, try. If you're not sure, and this is why I talk about the McDougall program, because I think it is very integral to what we're doing now, what shifted for us, because that's what a lot of you want to know. And I mean, I will say, I will probably be evasive if you're like, well, what happened over the past 12 years of your life, and how did your weight fluctuate? That doesn't apply to now. Now is now. And now I'm doing Dr. McDougall. I'm eating the Starch solution. That is what's happening now. So I think I'm an overanalyzer, and going back and looking at every tiny little thing that happened is just going to make me not succeed now. And so I know some of you want to avoid hurdles and different things like that. And what you should do is get yourself a copy of the Starch solution. You can probably get it at your library. Get the ebook. You can listen to it on Audible. And just get that information there. We're happy to share how we're doing it. Mm-hmm. And the Starch solution was perfect for us, and it might not be perfect for you. You might want to go and do sofas with Chef AJ. You might have a greater food addiction than we are showing ourselves to do. Though I will say this, as we do things and we try new things, I step back from that and I go, okay, we went to the Indian buffet. Do I need to go out today? Do I feel like, okay, this started something? And no, I didn't. We did end up eating out the next day, but it's because we met with Kim Campbell, who was delightful, and we talked for 5 hours. So that's too long not to eat. We weren't really prepared for that, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you just have to check in with yourself and see what some of your hurdles are. And I would say, Judy, just start doing it for yourself. And if that means, like, there was a time that Cheryl was paleo for, like, I don't know, like, however long she could stand to make her own dinner.
2 weeks.
Right. It wasn't that long. And I gave her a special drawer.
It might have been a month, actually. It was probably a month. And I was just like, this is not doing it.
And she just ate the other things that I was making as sides. So that's an option. I will also say that I feel beyond lucky that Cheryl went from being reluctant to doing it, because now we're able to talk about our food goals and going out and how we're going to deal with vacations and stuff together. And that does make it easier. So I want to also acknowledge, because this hasn't ever happened before, and it was way harder. And I see you, and I know it's hard.
And, honestly, like when it comes to your spouses and stuff, and, and a lot of them are reluctant, and probably a lot of you have spouses who were in the same kind of medical condition as I, where they have type 2 diabetes, they have high blood pressure, and they have all the things that comes with us being middle-aged and eating a American diet, and they're reluctant. A lot of times it's because of peer pressure. I think, like, a lot of times it was hard for me to, that's why I said the office is my slippery slope, because there I am at the office and I work with a lot of foodies, and there is always some kind of talk going on about this new restaurant, that new restaurant. Ooh, we should all go here for lunch. And we would all pile in cars and go to lunch together, and it was the social factor as well. And I think when you have that and your connection to those people is kind of more of a food relationship, a lunch buddy kind of thing, it gets hard. Because a lot of times the lunch buddy's going to be like, well, I can't believe you're eating like that. You sure don't you want to come get a hot dog? It just like, they got these great hot dogs over here. And a lot of times peer pressure will get to you. And I just want to, say that I work with some people who have been incredibly supportive of this. And people that I used to have as lunch buddies now are like, hey, I'm going to go get this. Is there something there that you can have, kind of thing. And they're asking those questions. And I think a lot of times we need to give our peers that opportunity to be supportive. And I think also when they see you doing the work on yourself, it makes a difference. Like, I am not embarrassed anymore at all to tell people that I work with that I'm working on myself and that I'm doing this to be healthy. And, a lot of the guys that I work with are just like, keep it up. You're doing great. It's been rewarding actually seeing them come over and be supportive for me. And I don't know how your spouses get their coworkers to that point. I mean, I think I'm just very lucky that I have coworkers that are like that, but the peer pressure makes it hard for them. It really does.
Well, and I think some of it too is like, so you've opened up to people, and I think, I always think of kind of this archetype of the Monday dieter, right? So everybody comes in the office, I'm on a diet on Monday, and then by Wednesday they're going out to all the buffets with everybody. Yeah. And I think that if you were that person who, for a long time it was like, tell the people that you're doing this and it will help you, without really thinking, some people are supportive, some people aren't. Some people you won't be able to go out with anymore, or you'll have to do different. Maybe you can't go out to eat with them anymore, but you can take a walk during a workday break and think about that. So you want to pick the stream you're drinking out of and get one that's supportive, not unsupportive. And then you also have to open up. And I know for me at first, like, I talked to Chef AJ about, am I going to tell everybody about everything? And one thing she said, Dr. Lyle said to her was, if it's a good idea today, it'll be a good idea in 2 weeks. So if you feel nervous actually talking to people about it, if you feel like, well, what if I change my mind? You can wait. You don't have to do it now. However, I will say, once you feel in yourself that, yes, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to see where this leads me, I think letting people know what's going on, it also helps you make better decisions. Like, you might know that with Jane, I can't go to lunch with Jane anymore. Jane only wants to go to Burger King. We used to go to Burger King all the time, and so she's not going to go to the Chinese restaurant with me. Mm-hmm. But then you don't have to not be friends with Jane. You can just say, I'm not eating fried foods anymore, and why don't we take a walk right after you come back? Mm-hmm. Have something like that. And Hop Into Health, which it's good to see you, says whole food plant-based. My husband is also reluctant to go full vegan. He just hates vegan cheese, but I will say he's a good sport and very supportive of me going plant-based. He will eat mainly what I cook, but sometimes he does want meat or cheese, but not as often as before.
That's great.
Yeah, and
it's a start. Like, that's where I started. I would eat whatever she cooked at the house. And then if we went out to eat or I was at work, I'd eat whatever I wanted to. Eventually, I got to where I was eating less and less meat until I finally in 2019 was just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I want to see how it makes me feel. And I felt really good, but I was still eating a lot of junk food. But, one of the things I think that we may not have mentioned, when the McDougall program started, one of the reasons I was a little like, yeah, it's going to be like everything else, is because I felt like we were already kind of eating pretty good. And, I just didn't realize how much oil was in everything and how much it actually mattered. And once we cut that out, like, the proof to me was how I was feeling. Like, 3 days max, most of my inflammation was gone. I couldn't walk more than 1.5 miles or 2 miles with her, and then the next thing I know, I'm doing 4-mile hikes in the woods, and like I'm ready to go. I have energy that I didn't have, and it's feeling that way made a huge difference for me to get on board with everything, because it's like, I like the way I feel on this. I like the way I'm losing weight. Like, as of today, I'm down 15 pounds since the day we started the McDougall program. And I haven't been at this weight in 10 years. Yeah. At least 10, maybe even longer.
Yeah, and one thing I just kind of want to say to everybody, if you're like, I don't know if I believe this stuff, do the McDougall diet for 4 days. Half your plate is starch, half your plate is vegetables. And you can even just do oatmeal and a little fruit in the morning. So you can, that's the easy boiled down way. There's much other things you can have. And again, look in the comments on the chat to get the free McDougall program to see exactly what you can eat. It's way more than that. But just try it. How do you feel? Like, it was much easier for us to go ahead and commit, because you think, well, I can't do this, I haven't done this, I couldn't possibly eat this way because, and there's all the excuses. And what you need to do is just go, throw those all over your shoulder like it was spilled salt, and go, I'm going to do the McDougall program for 4 days. I'm going to see what happens. Maybe I'll feel crappy and I'll never do it again. Maybe I'll feel amazing and I'll keep wanting to do it.
And then do it. If you can do it for 4 days, do it for another 6 days. And you'll feel it. And I cannot say enough good things about how I instantly just felt better.
It's weird, and it's very hard. I think one of the reasons I keep saying you have to suspend your disbelief is because I wouldn't have believed it. If someone said, this is what's going to happen to you, I would be like, you're a liar. And when I thought we were eating pretty clean, but we were having some oil, so I was like, I'm prepared not to lose any weight. And during those 12 days, I lost 7.5 pounds. And we ate.
Yeah, we were eating more food than we were eating before the program.
And I mean, we were taking short bipedal exercise bursts. I don't want to get the dog excited on a daily basis, because if I say the word, everything's going to go down.
And he was digging it.
But we were only going like a mile, maybe a mile and a half. It was very moderate. So we didn't go, okay, we're starving ourselves, we're exercising. No, we ate 2 big bowls of oatmeal. Then we had like rice and vegetable stew, or like a curry or a stir fry or something. So, I mean, it was very flavorful. I went out of my way, since I was hoping to coax Cheryl over to the bright side of making some of her favorites. And because I'm a recipe developer, I'm going to put a little more effort into the cooking. But Dr. McDougall has said, if all you can do is eat a baked potato and green beans, more power to you. That works too. So if you're in a place you're like, I've got to cook this whole meal for the husband and the kids and all of this, bake yourself a bunch of potatoes. Make yourself because I have an oat queso. Make the oat queso. Leave out the jalapeno powder and make it just a regular cheese sauce. Have cheesy stuffed potato with broccoli. To me, I love that. And I do usually need a sauce or something like that. And Mona's reminding us that Cedar Lane makes a hummus without oil, but it still has salt in it. And we're going to be doing some kind of hummus demo at some point, because you can also freeze hummus. We weren't able to find the oil-free hummus the last time we went to Whole Foods.
No, I looked at all of them, and every one of them had oil in it, and I was very disappointed, actually, because that was one of the things that I really enjoyed, was having like a Mediterranean bowl, and I'd put hummus in there and olives and things like that. But you know, I think once you make me some hummus.
Yeah, I made some dill pickle hummus, because that was one thing we used to like to get at Trader Joe's. And literally, you take some chickpeas, some pickles, some garlic, and a little bit of dill pickle juice, and just mush that up, whirl it up in a food processor or a blender. And that way, and there, obviously, if you're SOS free, there is salt and pickles and pickle juice. But depending on where you are on the spectrum, so like when Dr. McDougall is talking about limit your nuts, seeds, and avocados, it's for people who are actively healing or trying to lose weight on the starch solution diet. They are not on the maximum weight loss diet. So that's why you might see people sometimes talk about, well, I'm a little nervous about hummus. They mean traditionally made hummus. But whirl up some chickpeas, put in some smoked paprika, use a little non-dairy milk. You know, use some of the aquafaba from the can. Blend that all up together to get it to blend. And you can puree roasted red peppers. You could put, if you do avocado, you could put some avocado and cilantro. You could just put cilantro and jalapeno. There's like one thing I like to do when I'm developing stuff is like, I'll go look on Google, what kinds of hummus are there? And anything that's there that's not oil, like if it's olive oil hummus, right? We'll have to make a big change, but most things you can just leave out the oil, add a little bit of extra liquid to make it puree. And Janice was saying she's so much like Cheryl, except I got a cheeseless pizza for dinner last night because I was not prepared. And no, you got a cheeseless pizza, and that counts. And I think the thing is again,
in fact, more power to you, because I couldn't go there yet. And so I think that's great that you were able to say, I want a pizza, let me get a cheeseless pizza. And I think soon maybe we'll try making some pizza here at the house and see if I can figure out a combination that I like without the cheese. So.
Well, and I was Summer's Foxy Moxie recipe. I'm going to see if I can adapt it to be nut-free. It's pretty cashew heavy, but you make it in a blender and then you pour it over your pizza and it browns kind of like Miyoko's does, the bottled mozzarella. So I'm going to see if I can tweak that or if it will work with an oat version. But there's all different kinds of ways you can do it. And depending on what your percentage is of what you're doing and what kind of diet you're doing, maybe that's the once a month that you allow yourself a couple of tablespoons of Miyoko's mozzarella, right? And just, you have to think, in the beginning, it's the tighter you are, the easier it is. And then there comes a point, like for the 12-day program, we were really tight, except for that one time that we went out. And literally that's what they suggested we get at, like, when they were talking about going out to eat.
Which was the next day they did the going out to eat lecture, and we were both like, whew.
Yeah, because I felt so guilty because I was really in this 100% mentality because I really did want to do 100% for 12 days because I think you can do 100% for a limited amount of time. For me and my obsessive nature, that's why I have to go 90 to 95%. I got to know that someday, if we are celebrating my birthday and someone brings me a vegan cupcake, then I might eat it. And maybe you don't ever want that, and that's okay too. But I made us Ninja Creamy Pints that are completely compliant. So we had all of these things within the sphere, and that's why I'm saying 90 to 95%, but I wonder if it's not going to end up being more 95% once it becomes really ingrained.
Yeah. Well, also, it's important, like Kathy was talking about, she felt guilty that time when we had to do that. I also, when we went to the Indian buffet, I did not feel guilty for going to the Indian buffet and eating all the beautiful vegan options that they made. Like, it was unbelievable how much stuff they had and what range of stuff they had. And
there were like 10 dishes or more on the hot bar.
And there's usually one, right? And so it was
like three or four. But I mean, this
one that I would eat.
Yeah, one that you would eat is true. Because I love Indian food and things. So, but we were trying to decide, well, some things might be fried. How do we feel about that? Versus that, yes, probably some things had oil when they were sauteed. Yeah.
I made the decision not to have anything fried. Like I made the decision before we even went that I was not going to have any pakoras or anything like that. That I was going to just try to stick to other things. The one thing I do want to mention, and Kathy, I think, talked about it a little bit in her treadmill walk, was while I didn't feel guilty for eating that, one of the things that I did say after we left and on the way home was I felt like I was letting people down.
Like you guys.
Like, everybody's rooting for me, and here I just went to this Indian buffet. But then the more I sat with that and the more I thought about it is, now this is exactly why we're doing what we're doing and why we want you to, have a window into what's going on with us, is because it's important that people know that there are going to be times when you may have to, or you want to, choose to go to the Indian buffet. Like, one of the reasons why not only did we want to go just because this has never happened before, and it was like this amazing opportunity.
It was never vegan, so it was everything there was vegan, which has never happened before. So we wanted to support the community, and the vegans in Durham, North Carolina, are known for showing out. When restaurants do things for us, and a couple of restaurants closed during the pandemic that used to do some cool things like this.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that we were there for the community, because it's very important with what she does for a living that we support the community, even if we don't always have the same kind of food options in our daily life that everyone else does.
Well, one of the things that I was thinking, I always judge the mac and cheese contest, the vegan mac and cheese contest. And when you were saying that, I was thinking, next year I probably still would do it. But I mean, I just have to have a bite of like 10 mac and cheeses. It's not like I have to eat 10 plates of mac and cheese. Right. But it would still keep me in touch with the community. And maybe even that would encourage someone to put a no oil option in. And one of the things with the Indian buffet, Dilip, who's in charge of the Triangle Vegetarian Society, had a hand in helping this come along, and he's talking to them about trying to make a couple of no oil options.
Which would be amazing.
Which, if that happens, we would go every other week. Every time they have it, we will show up. Now we're trying to decide if we're going to do it once a month or twice a month.
Yeah.
But we're also deciding, we're making it a choice. It's not like, whoops, we ended up at the Indian buffet, no. Now what do we do? It's like, okay.
And when we say that we're planning, when we make the choice and we're planning, we really do mean that, like, we are planning. So for a couple days before and days after, we're making sure that we are sticking 100% and eating at the house and eating 100% to make sure that we are staying in line with our values. And it's been really helpful because, like, like if I know, okay, Thursday we're going to the Indian buffet, then Monday through Wednesday I'm going to make sure that I'm eating, like my favorite thing right now is just to have some brown rice. Half my plate is brown rice and half my plate is mixed vegetables.
And by mixed
Super
vegetables,
simple.
she means the frozen with
Yes.
the peas, corn, carrots, and green beans.
Yep, that's it. You know,
But it's
5-year-old food. That's my go-to. It's simple. I love it. Because we do use salt and condiments and things. I do drizzle some soy sauce on my rice. But, you know, that's my go-to. And, you know, I will eat that for 3 days up to when we go to that buffet. And, you know, everybody's body's different and everybody's body reacts differently. Mm-hmm. Like, she had very little impact from the Indian buffet.
Oh,
like,
no. No. Well, so
you had less impact than I did.
Well, different kind.
But that's true. Yeah.
So when
we are data nerds, so just like
when you're doing this 10 to 15% or 10 to 5%, and you're doing something different, what's going to happen is not that your McDougall world crashes down. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to work on your blood sugar numbers, that progress is going to slow. Mm-hmm. It might slow 3 days or 4 days. That's why the maximum weight loss diet is very specific, and it mm-hmm. is for continued maximum weight loss. Mm-hmm. And Stacy, our health, I always want to call it a support specialist. I'm going to get this right one day. Encouraged me not to do the ultimate weight loss or Mary's Mini and I was like, okay, but I'm probably not going to lose any weight since I'm so close. And it was like, it did. And so part of that is to be more like real life instead of like, if you're doing something that's for a set period of time, it's for a set period of time. And that's when like in the past, like Cheryl would be like, okay, I've told you I'd do this for 2 weeks. I've done it for 2 weeks. Now I'm going to go get a burger at Red Robin. And Susan says, my spouse too will eat whatever I fix and verbalize his support for the whole food plant-based lifestyle. However, when he goes to the store, he brings back meat items for the barbecue and all the dairies. Holy cow, pun intended. That's super cute. Yeah, and it's hard. So I've been in that position too, and it is hard, and it's kind of disappointing and disheartening. And at that point, that's when because as we were doing this together, and I was trying to tempt her to the delicious whole food plant-based no oil side, I was also thinking about how I might do things differently if she decides not to do, or what rules we might enact in the kitchen. So there's some things I know I don't want her to bring in the house, and we've talked about that.
Actually, the whole food plant-based, I never realized it before because, you know, I always immediately went to, all the things I'll never, ever be able to have again, right? Mm-hmm. But actually it works in my benefit because I am actually a very simple eater. Like when I said I eat like a 5 or 6 year old, I'm not kidding. Like I like very simple foods. Sometimes the stuff that she makes it's too flavorful for me, right? Like I'm just like, why so much flavor? But
it makes me crazy.
And it makes her crazy because like sometimes it just depends on my taste buds for the day. Sometimes black pepper's too spicy for me. And then other days I can eat something like
you can eat like chili tofu, which is
and the Indian folks at work are going, yeah, wow, you can eat that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know why, but
I can't have Southern gravy with black pepper.
But, you know, but then the next day, I couldn't even come near eating that, right? My taste buds are really, really weird. But with the whole food plant-based, because, especially with the McDougall Starch solution, I actually get to eat all my favorite foods as simply as I want to. And she'll be like, well, let's go get something out of the refrigerator. And I'll just go get my rice. And then I'll go get my vegetables out of the freezer. And I'll put them in my little pampered chef
I
thing
think
that she
Chef
hates.
AJ loves that. I don't know why I hate it. I think
I have the smaller version of Chef AJ's. I have 2 of them, actually.
But, and just for a second, one thing that we have been having in the fridge at all times, and Cheryl is being part of refreshing this, we always have steamed rice.
Mm-hmm.
It could be any grain. Rice is just working for us right now. It could be quinoa. It could be buckwheat. It could be oat groats, whatever you want. And we're also having, I'm trying to keep baked potatoes and little baby potatoes that I've pressure cooked that I could either cut and crisp up if I want something crispy. So that we have these bases, and we went ahead and went to Costco and got big giant bags of, I have Normandy mix, which is like California mix.
And I'm like, no, just give me the basic vegetable mix. I'm happy with that. So I'm happy because I don't have to eat as much of the cauliflower and broccoli if I don't want to. And that cauliflower and broccoli have just always been really hard for me. I'm getting better.
You've gotten much, much better.
But like last night for dinner, she had made this awesome curry.
Yeah, vegetable korma. So it's like creamy, but I used vegan yogurt, unsweetened plain vegan yogurt. So the one that I'm buying right now that is expensive. So I'm going to go back to making my soy yogurt again soon. But it's like $10 for a big thing of it. But it doesn't use any coconut. It is almond milk based. So it's not a perfect choice, but it's a better choice than mayo or sour cream or cashew cream.
And when we say that we're using like the yogurt and stuff, like we're not like having big giant bowls of yogurt. We're using it like a condiment. Like we're using it to thicken something or like and using very small amounts of it at a time.
In general, yeah. In general. So like with this, I think there was probably, I don't know, there might be a whole cup in it, but this was probably like 6 to 8 servings.
Yeah, so it was spread out.
So it's still, so you can still have your creamy things. You can also, if you're like, that's too rich for my blood, or I'm allergic to almonds, you can make an almond cream. And cream, I'm saying like from like skim milk to cream. And so how you change the thicknesses of that is it's more oat to water ratio. With oat milk will last about 3 days. So also the beauty of oat milk, and I think if you go to healthyslowcooking.com, I have soy curl tikka masala with oat cream. As that cooks, it thickens. So it works really, really nicely. Yeah. And I want to go ahead and share this one from a Facebook user. Ooh, that's big. It's a big, long comment. I've been whole food plant-based for 10 years and gluten-free for 16 years. Lost 30 pounds. Congratulations by going gluten-free and had great improvement with arthritis. Mm-hmm. Biggest difference was draining of inflammation. Going plant-based, I lost another 20 pounds. That's amazing. And slipped 3 years ago and allowed oil back in. Hope to do better now. And here's the thing. Life happens. The world changes. And I think one thing that I'm hoping to learn from the pandemic, because during the pandemic, I gained 30 pounds because I kept holding my breath, waiting for it to be over. And then there's only so long you can hold your breath before you disintegrate.
And we both tend to be a little bit stress eaters too.
Yeah,
so.
But it was definitely the pressure of everything. It wasn't like, I'm tired of eating plants or anything like that. It's just like we were just letting in more foods instead of having some guidelines around them. Like I don't feel like any food.
Well, like early on, we realized that we could get groceries delivered. And, when you get groceries delivered, it's real easy to get a lot of the convenience foods and things like that. Like I was like, heavy on the faux meats again and things like that. So
and we were stressed and bored, and Instacart was just figuring things out. So we just I love grocery stores. I love them.
We go to grocery stores on vacation.
So if I'm somewhere else, what do they have here? Maybe they have something. That Whole Foods is under a different distributor than my Whole Foods. So we love to walk the aisles and look for new things to talk to you guys about. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, it was just a lot easier to just go, okay, we'll try this, we'll try this, we'll try this. And then we weren't having energy to cook and things like that too.
So it was just, what can we throw in the air fryer? What can we throw in the Breville? You know, we just were like basically mindlessly eating things.
And it's, so by saying that, you know, things happen, and that doesn't mean you can't go. Just like if I have depression, and it flares up sometimes, and sometimes it is fine. Now it is fine. When it flares up, you know, it's hard to deal with. But it doesn't mean my whole life is over when I'm out of that depression. So if you have if something, and not that depression is a slip, but to me, when I slip, it makes me feel depressed. Maybe that's why I put the two together. But you know, you just kind of take a deep breath, and you're like, yeah, I think I'm feeling better. I'm going to start doing things today. And you can decide today, I'm going to have a baked potato. And I think Chef AJ and JP both talk about you're as good as your next meal. Mm-hmm. And so anybody watching this now can toss a sweet potato or baked potato in your air fryer, Instant Pot, oven, or, you know, make a batch of rice. And it can be easy. Make it easy for yourself to maintain. And Cheryl, who didn't used to do really any of the cooking, is now making our oatmeal every night and making sure that we wake up to oatmeal. And so it really is the tiniest of things that you can commit to that make the biggest differences too.
And I you know, it's funny because it gives me a little bit of comfort with the oatmeal, because I make the oatmeal and I make sure it's cooking overnight so that when we get up in the morning, we have oatmeal, nice fresh oatmeal ready for us. But when I wake up in the morning, like, I'm like, oh, I've got fresh oatmeal upstairs that I can have. And it's kind of nice, right? Knowing that I have some nice fresh oatmeal ready to go. And it helps me. It helps me stay for the whole day. It's like I start off on the right track, and it helps me stay on the right track for the whole day. And we were talking about things that we have on hand, that we always have on hand, that helps us. One of the other things that we always have on hand that helps me, I don't know how much it helps her, but it helps me, is we have, we've told you guys, I think before, people have saw us talking about the actually veggies burger patties. And Ezekiel buns. And so in the freezer, I have a bag of actually veggies burger patties.
That is the name of the brand.
That's the name of the brand.
It sounds like it's not, but it's the name of the brand.
Right? If you're not doing salt, or you have, you know, one of the reasons you're doing this because you have a blood pressure issue or something like that, it does have a little bit higher salt. It's not crazy, but it does have higher salt than you would typically
Jeff Novak recommends. Right. He does a label reading thing. So and you just look at it and see if it does have salt. So if you're SOS, SOFAs, you're still, but you can make a batch of things, or a double batch, and put them in your freezer if you can't do that.
But, you know, between having that and the Ezekiel buns, always in the freezer, kind of helps me. If my brain goes to, gosh, I really wish I had some junk food tonight, that's my junk food now, which is kind of amazing.
Well, and it's interesting. It ties back into what I've talked to you guys about before, and I talked about this all over the pandemic, was doing something for yourself that you wish somebody else would do for you. So it's like doing a favor for your future self. Mm-hmm. And it really does feel just as good as if somebody else did it. You know, like sometimes I will unload the dishwasher if we washed the dishes early that night. Mm-hmm. And then when I get up in the morning, I don't have to unload the dishwasher. It's like, ooh, it feels so special. So these tiny little things are important. Hop Into Health is saying, I'm more of a ranch girl. Balsamic is only used in cooking for me. Horrible at eating salads, working on that. And, you know, everything, it's about progress, not perfection. And I have an amazing ranch dressing recipe that I need to put up on the blog. I use the same yogurt, and then I use some soy milk. But you could use a different milk. I use soy milk because you put a little apple cider vinegar and it clabbers. It gets thick like buttermilk. and then just some dry spices. And actually, Cheryl made it. She's made it a couple times, and Cheryl is also. And you guys tell us if you're interested in maybe me and Cheryl doing some cooking together, and that maybe she picks a recipe from a book and I help her go through it. So I don't know how many of you are beginning cooks and how that would help.
I kind of see it as a if I can do it, anybody can do it kind of thing. So maybe we have like a live where I'll pick a recipe out of a book, and not necessarily one of her books, could be somebody else's books, and I say, okay, we're going to make this, and we'll rate on how easy it is by whether or not I can do it.
Well, and then I'll tell you. No, I'm kidding.
But I mean, I don't have knife skills like you have.
No, but
I don't.
It'll be good too, because we can do some workarounds and talk about that. But I thought it could be interesting for that in general. But I will try to get the ranch dressing up, because the ranch dressing is just ridiculously wonderful. So,
it's really helped me eat more salads. Like sometimes if I feel snackish in the evening, I'll just go make a salad now and drizzle some of that on there.
Yeah, and you can put it over like veggies you're not super fond of. I've been making ranch double stuffed potatoes. So like I'll take that baked potato cold from the fridge, I cut it in half, I fluff it up some, I'll mix in. Sometimes I don't use the ranch and I'll just mix in some yogurt, some nutritional yeast, maybe some fresh herbs like garlic chives or something like that. Mix it all in and then stick it in for it to get warm, because it'll make that top even without a cheese. And it's just so good.
And I'll take a potato and I'll cut it in half and I'll cook the potato, and then I'll just put like a teaspoon of yogurt on it, and then I take spicy mustard and put the spicy mustard, and then I mix it all together, and I mix it all together, and I don't use that much, but to me it tastes like potato salad.
Right, and so some of the key, and this is why I'm a big flavor person, is finding what flavors work for you. Because you might be like, I can't eat potatoes 3 times a day. Well, you can if you make hash browns in the morning in like a panini press. If you have a double stuffed potato, or if you do an Indian potato salad with like chickpeas and cilantro chutney, there's just a lot more there than you think. Mm-hmm. Now Mona's saying the brunch place I'm going to has a veggie wrap. I can leave the dairy off and have avocado and a side of beans. The wrap is probably not compliant, and that's kind of a good way, in my opinion, to think. As long as it's not throwing you off of your plan, I think it's okay, because it's not something you're doing every day. If it's not triggering you to do something else, then I think that's fine. Now Karen is saying, be careful of restaurants that steam vegetables. I just heard yesterday they steam with oil added. I can only say that the places that I have got steamed vegetables and in Chinese restaurants absolutely did not have any oil on it. So
and it's obvious.
I don't know when you mean, because steaming, you're actually cooking with water, which actually repels. Water and oil don't go together. So if they're using a steamer or they're putting it in the microwave, now it is possible the pan that they're steaming it in could have had some oil in it before, something like that.
Unless they're like drizzling like sesame oil or something.
No, they don't do that in general, because I've eaten steamed vegetables more than even in this state at Chinese restaurants. So Karen, I would love, and I know I'm behind on comments, but I would love if you would clarify where you heard that from, and were they talking about certain restaurants in particular?
Yeah, because we would love that information if you...
Because it could be some places, and maybe that's something you can ask. Usually when I'm at a hole-in-the-wall Chinese place, it's not always easy to communicate about some really specific things like that. But at that point, I would then just change to P.F. Chang's, which is not my first go-to Chinese restaurant. But, they do that there.
We haven't been to the Chinese restaurant that's near our house that...
But for a while, you were getting steamed vegetables there a few years ago.
Yeah, and also one of the folks that was on another one of our lives that's here from Durham had mentioned that they do have that whole menu where you can pick what vegetables you want, what rice you want, and you can get the sauces on the side.
That was Dragon Inn.
Yeah.
Near our house in North Durham.
So I would like to do that at some point maybe.
And Apple says, "Gosh, it's so hard to get a healthful meal at a restaurant, isn't it?" And it really is. When being whole food plant-based, what used to be back in the day, a vegetarian meal was impossible in the 80s. Now a vegetarian meal is everywhere, and pretty much a vegan meal is everywhere. But then if you start getting whole food plant-based, which means, okay, now we're not doing an Impossible or Beyond Burger, so like places even like Disney and Universal, that's what they're putting out for their vegan entree.
Which kind of is a little disappointing because a lot of those places had really great like bean burgers before and stuff, and now they're kind of replacing them with the Impossible meat and the Beyond Meat. And for me, who now I've gone beyond the Impossible meat and Beyond Meat, and now I want the bean burgers again, and now I'm finding that those are actually rare to find sometimes.
Well, and even, doing a cauliflower steak, and like you really have to check things, but it is hard. And we are going to be going on a road trip, and there is a no oil restaurant that I'm trying to see if we can make on our way.
And actually, I think that should be pretty doable.
Okay.
Actually.
So, and if we do, then we'll probably try and do a quick live, or at least record what we see and how that ends up being. But it is hard, and I think you just have to you think ahead of time. But like, one of the things Dr. McDougall and Mary were saying a lot were, you can go to a steakhouse, you can get a baked potato. And like, I know someone else was saying, there are often oils and things used on baked potato, salt on the outside. I would eat everything but the outside in that case, or something like that. But they bring their own gravy and some things to a fancy steakhouse. So you do have to and like someone else was saying, we're adulting at a higher level. It only appears smoke and mirrors. I think for right now, because we are trying to get this into be a habit, that we are making these decisions and trying to think ahead, because we like how we're feeling doing this. I'm waiting for me to have some big cravings for something I'm not supposed to have, which I haven't had yet, but I'm sure it's coming. I just don't know when it is. So it's, since it's been pretty easy for us to do this, 90%, and again with that 5 to 10% just being whole food plant-based instead of whole food plant-based no oil. So making these choices. And let's see. Oh, and okay. Blah, blah, blah.
Somebody else said they heard the same about the
yeah,
oil.
I would like to know more about that, so I'll keep going. And sorry I'm having to look down here. Apple says, "I'm so glad I don't have to navigate restaurants. It's been more than a decade since I went out for a meal." And, one of the things for us is especially on vacations and things, we have planned vacations around going to restaurants, especially vegan restaurants for me. And I thought I was going to feel weird about that as we're planning some of these trips, but I don't right now. And also knowing that if there is a special, like there are a couple of places in Orlando I would like to go to again, and knowing that could be my 10% of that month to go to this, eat mostly whole food plant-based. That would be great.
Somebody was asking about
FFOF Saturday check-in. FF, is that fork? So, I don't know what FFOF is, so someone's going to have to clue me in, but I'm happy to share that. Ooh, Dave said made some Laura Bar popsicles for dessert. Really good. Excellent. Okay, here we go, Karen. Thank you. It's tiny over here, and there's lots. I heard it either Sunday night on the McDougall chat or watching Chef AJ or someone in
the
FFOF Saturday check-in. FFOF. I don't know that, but we didn't listen to Dr. McDougall this past Sunday night because we were in another thing. So I will try and go back and listen to that. And I could never make a blanket statement that no one does it, but I definitely know that I've gone to some places that don't. And I do know that Heather McDougall was recommending the steamed Buddhist feast at P.F. Chang's. But if we know of some specific things. Oh, and TS says, is the yogurt a recipe you have or store-bought brand? So I usually make my own soy yogurt. And if you go to plantbasedinstantpot.com and look up yogurt, I tell you how to make it with store-bought soy milk or milk with pea protein in it, because both of those will turn into yogurt. So everybody's like, I want to make almond yogurt. And I do have a friend who makes almond yogurt from almonds. It's very high in fat. That works, but almond milk that you buy is never going to work. There's just not enough protein in it to turn it into yogurt and make it get thick. So that's why I use soy. And soy, you can go and get either West Soy or Trader Joe's soy. You want a soy milk that just has soy and water. And the smallest amount of whatever. The more fillers and thickeners and stuff, the less it will turn into yogurt and get thick and yummy. The one that I've been buying, because I used to love Nancy's soy yogurt, and it works really well. And we haven't had it so long here in North Carolina that I don't know what's in it anymore. So I don't know if it works on the diet that I'm on now or the eating plan. But the Kite Hill almond yogurt is the cleanest one that I've been able to find so far, in that it does use nuts, does not add any coconut cream. I was hoping Forager was going to be it because I love Forager, but Forager also adds in coconut cream or some kind of coconut. So just kind of look and do the best you can. And you know what? If you can't find any yogurt, you could also make a ranch dressing with silken tofu, or thicken a korma with silken tofu or something like that. Do you have a work call?
It's okay. I just had to it was a work thing, though.
Oops. Oh, okay. And someone on Facebook says, if you call ahead, some restaurants will bake your potato without oil. That's a great thing, too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oops. West Soy works for yogurt, yeah. Oh, Fit and Fabulous Over 40. Thank you, TS. I did not know that abbreviation, and in fact, I'm in talks to do some recipe demos for y'all, so I'm very excited about that. Here we go. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, and the ranch dressing is not, it could be, I think there is one in my cookbook, and there is some in my Kathy's Cooking Club, but I am going to put it up. I'm just way behind. But if you want, email me at kathyhester@gmail.com and encourage me to get the ranch dressing up, and that will probably light a fire. Colleen says, you may have already addressed this, but when you say 90%, is that 90% in a given day or week, or just in general? And that is a great specific question. And
right now,
we're kind of thinking originally we were thinking per week, but I think we're starting to think a little bit bigger out as per month. But I think in the beginning, you're just trying to take it a day at a time, and then a week at a time, and then maybe a month at a time. But so
we're every time we do something, we're taking in, how did it make us feel? Did it trigger us to want to do something immediately again? And I can tell you right now, no. We haven't really been triggered to do it again. And in fact, a lot of times where we used to go out to eat a lot, and
way too much.
And like we would go grocery shopping, or we would run errands, and then we would always be like, crap, we're hungry now, let's go eat. And then we would go get something. And now we're being much more mindful about when we're running errands and grocery shopping, that we either eat before we leave the house, or we have a dedicated plan for what we're doing that day. Like if we're going to Greensboro to go do some
Which is
shopping.
a whole hour drive
Right.
away.
We know that we're going to have to eat in Greensboro because of the distance it is from our house and the things that we're going to be doing there. So we have a place that we can go there that we know that we can be 95% probably there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's a matter of scoping out. So like we looked, and again, I think the first two places are like a bowl place or a Chinese place, that because they tend to steam more. Like I don't really see that on the Thai menu, though there are things you could get Thai food. So and Apple says we've got to be kind to ourselves. Our society is not set up for being well and healthy.
Yes.
And it's a struggle, and I think that's a really good point because. It's not like when you go to a restaurant, they're making it easy for you to be different than everyone else. You're the exception. And so I loved in the class when Heather was talking about being nice to people when you're asking them to make something different for you. Because also the nicer you are, the easier it is for the next person to have something healthy, and that helps us grow as a community of healthy eaters, even if we don't ever get to know each other. And it's not set up for it, and I think instead of like kind of shouldering into it, just kind of going, and Dr. Lyle talks about this a lot, instead of saying, well, I'm vegan, or I'm this, or I'm that, which, because of like the 4 mean vegans that exist, they've created problems for all of us, right? Sometimes people who are just difficult. But when you go, my doctor has me on this crazy eating plan, and I can't have these things. Could you help me figure out what I should get? People love to help people. They're not going to love it during the lunch rush. So it's going to be a lot easier if you go at 11 or you go at 2, right, to get something like that. But once you've gathered this rapport with a restaurant, like in Chef AJ's area, now there's like 6 restaurants that make food for her that now other people can get. So you could be a start of that too. And Ashley has a great point too. If you have a Chinese supermarket near you or an Asian supermarket, you'll probably be able to access soy milk with no additives as well. And sometimes in the larger ones, at least there's one of ours on the weekend that's a little bit of a drive, but they sell fresh soy milk on the weekends. And because I make mine with my Miomat, and that's made it very easy, but it can be time consuming. So, and I like also that just Trader Joe's has it. Ooh, that's a good question. TS says, I like the Trader Joe's soy milk too. We'll have to try your recipe. It's not brain surgery, and you can either use a vegan yogurt starter, you can use a probiotic capsule, or you could use a tablespoon from some other vegan yogurt you have. I will say the more ingredients of that yogurt, the less likely it's going to give you a thick yogurt. So I would use one of the first 2. There was something. Here we go. Dave says Trader Joe's also has an oat beverage with just oats and water, and I heard about that too because Oatly has oil in it, and it's problematic when you're doing an oil diet, right? A lot of people who were in the program with us didn't realize Oatly had oil or that they needed to read labels. Yeah. And Kathy says bringing our own food on vacation is such a time saver. Yeah. And this is how
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, we're doing all the planning, so we're going to take you guys along with a lot of this planning too. No time spent looking for a good restaurant to go to. Also, we can eat whenever, which is especially helpful in Yellowstone and other remote locations.
I'm hoping that it'll also be advantageous when we're going down 95 and we don't have to stop for an hour and a half or 2 hours someplace
to get something we didn't even really enjoy and spend $30 or $40 for the privilege.
Yeah. So
we've gotten, and we'll do this one of the next shows because we're thinking of doing this every week as long as you guys are interested in it and it's helpful. So let us know if this is the kind of thing that you want. But we got some Hot Logic things to go put in the car, and now I just got these. Is it Itaki? So there's some like electric bento box things that, and another kind of like a hot pot that we may be able to cook all the meals completely. And we have, while it doesn't have a car plug-in, we have a converter. Is that the name of it? Inverter. Because I plug my computer on there. I usually work on my computer when we're on long road trips because I have the patience of a gnat. So I have to be doing something. So we're going to try between the two of those, like either having some warmed up food. We also got some containers where when we wake up in the morning to go, we can take the cooked oatmeal, put it in there with our fixins so that it's ready to go as soon as we get in the car and we want to eat. And then maybe even having some baked potatoes warming with some chili. So then when we're, we'll tell you all those things, but I think that's brilliant.
Facebook user.
Which one?
When on vacation, I don't want to cook. I am totally that person as well. Like, to me, when you're on vacation, that's when you're supposed to like do these treaty things and stuff. And we have in the past been very indulgent on our vacations, especially when we go places like Disney and things that basically we can talk to a chef and they will make things for us. We
haven't asked in any way, shape, or form if they can do no oil food in the past. So if we end up in that situation, we'll let you know. But I know like Chef TJ, who does this wonderful extravaganza wherever he's at, and there is Veg Disney is a Facebook group. But I have seen people ask about whole food, plant-based, no oil, and the people who are in the group right now aren't really doing that.
Right.
So they don't have a lot of answers, and we'll see if that's something. Cheryl's parents live in Ocala, and that's when we usually go to Orlando on the way there or the way back.
So it'll be interesting. We are, at this point, we are planning to be way less indulgent than we have been on our vacations. Like, we are planning, we have some trips. We know for the Sacramento trip that we're going to be fine. That area, we've been told, has some restaurants that...
Well, Chef AJ, that's where like some of the no oil restaurants are. You have to call a day ahead. But we're also feeling pretty good about if we ended up with a bowl restaurant or something like that.
But we also like, we still plan on eating our oatmeal for breakfast. We'll probably take what we need to do that in our room. And that'll be very helpful because it is expensive when you start eating out every meal. And then when you're eating out every meal, it also becomes a little easier to sway away from what you really want.
It's a slippery slope. Because like if you're going out 3 meals a day and you're going to different places, then each one of those may have something you could only get there. And so that's always so been a thing for me. And another thing, if you don't want to cook, and I was thinking about some of this too, I was thinking when we're doing our road trip, I may do some batch cooking ahead of time. We'll keep a good cooler in so that we would have, a week's worth. Like, how long is some of your fancy coolers? Don't they keep
most of them will keep ice from 3 to 5 days depending on what the temperature is outside.
So and then we could get some more ice and switch it out. So I was thinking if I had some stuff that maybe would last 4 or 5 days, like maybe I'll go ahead and cook up 8 baked potatoes to put in there. Maybe I'll have some sweet potatoes that we can have in for snacks, or I could also put in stir-fry sauces. Or, again, it could be part of your 90 to 95% that you have a little bit of store-bought stir-fried sauce. That's up to you and what you're doing. But so that it feels less like cooking and more like just warming some stuff up and see if that feels good to you. Like we've gone to some really cool restaurants, especially when we're in Disney. They're all themed and it's fun and, things like that. So we will be looking to what replaces that or what.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things that we're looking to now, and that's kind of why we want to have these conversations. So as we're working on our solution, we want to talk to you about that, and as we're finding a solution, we want to give you whatever options we find.
And also, we always end up getting some good information from you guys on these, so it's very helpful. When we go in October, that is going to be a longer road trip. We are planning to eat the majority of those meals we're going to take with us. But while we are at the conference, which is 3 days, they will be feeding us. So we're trying to plan ahead for that. We don't know at this point. We could just be eating salads
right.
for every meal. So we're
my
going to make
friends
sure.
are running the conference. It's the ECAM conference. So I suspect they will feed us well.
Yeah.
But what might happen is, let's say it's all vegan cheesy, or it's all Thai coconut curries. We know we're going to indulge some, but we also, if we notice from the first day things don't seem to jive exactly, we'll eat a little something before we go out.
Yeah.
So we want to have, like...
What do you call that? There's a word for that.
Preloading.
We're going to preload.
And preload is a word they use about eating a salad or soup before you eat your main meal, so that you don't eat so calorie dense and you still feel full. But those are some of the things we're thinking about, and we will come back and report about all the good and the bad things that we do along the way, and how we come to terms with it. We are already planning on, before we go on vacation, eating very pristinely, and then having as much pristine food on the trip ready to go for while we're driving. But I've also already decided we're going to pop some popcorn. I don't know who gave me the dill pickle.
It was somebody in our McDougall group, I think.
Oh, it was awesome.
Or maybe it was somebody on the live. I can't remember.
So we put a tablespoon of dill pickle juice and then put our popcorn in. We have a glass microwave popper, and it tasted all salty and goodness. It was lovely. It didn't taste like dill pickles. I might try 2 tablespoons to see if I can get a little more oomph. But it was delightful. So I thought maybe we'll make a little bag of that, so that when we're stopping at the gas station, and I'm like, whenever we stop on the gas station on road trips, we get bugles.
And French burnt peanuts.
Right. So whatever our thing is, so maybe I'll make you some crispy chickpeas to have. So I'm also trying to see, because we're not going to be perfect, but if there's that, and I just want something crunchy and a little salty, okay. And that could be good enough. Now, Liz is saying, how long does homemade yogurt last in the fridge? And it can vary. It should last at least a week to 10 days, I would say. It depends on how cold your fridge is, how old the milk was. There's a lot of ifs, but it should be. I find it starts, because it will, even if it gets nice and thick, it will start to separate some, and then it will separate some more. So it gives you a hint, and then it gets mold on it. So usually you can tell from that too. And Mona's happy we're going to do a food demo. Oh, and that's a great thing, Diana says. Tip well when they go above and beyond in restaurants. Absolutely. If they're doing you a favor, act like it and let them know you appreciate it. Because I think it's just really important. Also, people are just really mean and unkind right now. Like, the pandemic didn't really set us on a good path. I feel like people are crankier and more self-centered out and about, and the people who have to deal with that constantly, I just feel for them.
Yeah. Be kind to your checkout person. Be kind to your wait staff person, because
it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything, and we've seen some checkout people, like at the grocery store or at Target or someplace, just really get an earful from somebody for absolutely nothing they have done. And it always makes us feel really sad when we see that, as people who have worked in the service industry before. So
yeah, and I mean, there are people just like you, and just like you don't have control over everything in your work, they don't have control over it. And if they're being super cranky to you, it probably means somebody yelled at them. I think there's a really good chance. Now, Sandra says, I tend to go to Asian restaurants and get steamed vegetables with rice and sometimes tofu. When I do, I take a small travel-size bottle of California balsamic. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, that's
perfect.
That's kind of like, I think when we're traveling, that if we have to eat out somewhere, that will probably be, if we can't find one of our bowl places that we know about, I think always an Asian restaurant is probably a safe bet for us.
Yeah. And Guy says, I made black bean burgers. I'm so addicted now that I have them in the freezer. And I think it's really amazing when you do go ahead and make something. So I think I said last time, because in my vegan cooking in your air fryer cookbook, I make frozen fries. Like we prepare our own DIY frozen fries because like for a hot minute you could buy some without oil and now you can't find them anymore. Right. And it's a pain. So I do a double or triple patch and then we've used them twice and we don't even have a big dent in that yet. So if
they're kind of a pain.
Well, anyhow,
they're hard.
That's a marital argument we'll have later. But it's just because they do, we could have done it a little bit better.
We need to figure out a way to freeze them a little differently, I think.
But also, if you just put a parchment paper in the air fryer, then life will be much easier. So again, thanks for sharing in our lives. Betsy says, what are your thoughts on Joy for plant milk? If you're doing, let me grab.
You just had some of that.
Yeah, let me grab one over here. Oh, I hate sitting on this stool.
Sorry. We should get little stool seat covers.
Here we go. I'm looking at. So here's one of them. There are 3 kinds of Joys. There's cashew, almond, and oat. And the almond and the cashew. There you go. Come in jars. And the only ingredient is cashew. And you will see some oil on this because cashews contain oil. It's not like cashew butter you bought at the store that has oil and cashews. So it depends on you and what your eating plan is, really. And if you have allergies. I haven't used the latest Easy Dissolve oat milk, and it had oats and amylase, or however you say that, in it, which just helps it break down the starches. It's just an enzyme. It doesn't do anything bad. I use them sometimes in creamy creations, or like since I had some, I've actually whipped up some cashew milk with it. For me, for what we're doing, we're okay with it. So I don't know if that helps. If you want to ask me some more things like, do I know an alternative milk that doesn't use any oil or is less fat than cashew milk, I can give you a more exacting answer. Okay, and people do want us to continue this. Oat Original does not have oil. Oh, Planet Oat Original does not have oil. Excellent.
That's the one you can get at Costco, I think.
Okay. Apple, maybe. Apple asks, is there a road trip recipe book in the works? And I was thinking if some of these little devices, since I'm such a device, person, I was going down a whole, because it's like layered stuff you can cook in this small thing. Can't wait to get it. I just ordered it last night.
We love a gadget.
And I will unbox it for you and we will make some things in there, I can tell you for sure. But I was watching some YouTube videos where other people were making a lot of Asian food, because this is where the bento box comes from and these layered lunch boxes, but where you can cook rice from dry, get your vegetables steamed, maybe put a little sauce on a piece of tofu or a slab of sweet potato or cauliflower, and then it just cooks in like 40 minutes. And I think there's one that's bigger. So we got 3 things, so I'm hoping we can cook some rice. If we have a microwave and a fridge and we can reheat things, great, we can do a bigger batch. If not, we can kind of set these things up. And I was thinking with a cooler, we can have a lot of little containers. Like we can have little Ziploc bags of the amount of rice that can fit here with that. so that we kind of have everything all made ahead. So I'm not just sitting there going, I have this thing and some stuff in the freezer or the cooler. What can I make from it to kind of get a little bit ahead?
And I love to make go bags for like different things. Like I have my biking go bag and I have a kayaking go bag. And we were talking last night, I think it was, and it's like, I want to make a road trip go bag. And so that's something I'm going to be working on over the next few weeks, is trying to figure out, what kind of, what kind of container do we put it in? What kind of bag do I put it in? That kind of thing. And,
yeah,
and then,
I think that's really smart, because
something that I can keep in the car,
she's
or that
good
we
about
can just
packing
grab
stuff
on the way out the door when we're going to do something.
And it could be, I'm not sure yet, but just like our balsamic vinegars and stuff, I could have some small things of spices, so that if we did even get something somewhere else, we could use some of our own sauces and things like that.
You remember that thing we used to have for camping that was like the thing we got at REI that was round and it had all the different spices in it? Do you remember that?
I
wonder if we
do.
could make something like that.
Oh, I'm sure. We can figure that out. And Dave says there's a brand of pre-made oatmeal called Mush, and I've seen that you can find at Whole Foods, Target, maybe even Costco in the refrigerated section while traveling is a good option.
That's good.
And I like that. And one of the things we do, we pay for Instacart, and when we've gone other places, we've gotten Instacart stuff. So I was thinking, okay, when we fly to Sacramento, we're limited in some. I can't bring a sauce, right? But I could Instacart one, or Instacart some soy sauce or something like that too. And you could do mush. Okay, and Sandra says if anyone already belongs to Thrive Market, their organic oat milk is just oats and water. Oh, I hate it when that happens. It just moved and now I don't know. Pickles and popcorn. Let me get back here. Okay, I gotta go back more. There we go. Okay. Oh, and Lisa says Ocala is definitely God's country. It used to be part of my territory as a salesperson. I never missed a visit. Cheryl, do your parents own horses?
No, no. My father had horses when he was younger, but once he left home, he didn't have horses anymore. My grandparents had horses until I was maybe five or six. I don't know. Mm-hmm. The story in my family is always that I could ride a horse before I could walk. So
I believe that.
But my dad did barrels when he was in high school and stuff.
Oh,
so,
cool. That's nice. Well, and Susan's saying she's cooked some items, froze them, and used them like ice in her cooler, like beans. Super smart. And Kathy says we took gallon-sized drinking water bottles, filled them about 3/4 of the way full with our RO water, and froze them still.
Reverse osmosis.
Oh, thank you. I'm so bad at the abbreviations in context. And froze them still at least half frozen after 2.5 days in a very cold cooler. That's a very smart thing and inexpensive. Let's see what else we got. Jennifer says, I love that Cheryl is becoming more involved. I would love it if you guys cook together. So that's something we'll do. And Diana says, my fiance always eats pickles and popcorn. It's kind of delicious. But I was always like team salt and vinegar potato chips back in the day when I ate potato chips. I don't know. Oh, well, hopefully. I see some message was retracted, but I'm hoping Miss Manners has definitely left the building. I hope I didn't miss something big. But Susan says, having worked restaurants, the wages are typically poor and workers rely heavily on tips. Absolutely. And even now, when some of us old people, like myself, are kind of like, well, they're making a lot more money than I did when I was waiting tables as a base wage or as a service person. You've got to remember, there are people out there right now, and this blows my mind. So we bought our house 13 years ago.
12 or 13, yeah.
And people are now paying more for a 1-bedroom apartment in North Carolina than what I pay for my mortgage for my 1 acre and my 2,400 square foot house. So there's a little bit of that. Like when our friends moved here, it was a kind of a rude awakening that they had to pay twice as much for their house than we did. You know, so there's also that, and people are struggling. Yeah, and I was thinking about that. Marilyn was saying you can take your 3-quart Instant Pot and your meals in a jar, because I do have a class that's meals in a jar. Everything's dry and ready to go. That would be good to put in a travel book, wouldn't it? So anyhow, Karen makes her own burgers using black soybeans, mushrooms, and walnuts. I just bought up more of Tracy's Real Food Burgers as a backup. And I think your freezer needs to be a backup. Like even, and I'm getting ready to do this today because it's Friday. I keep forgetting what day it is. Is that I had made some beans that now if we're not going to eat as soon as we get off of here, they're going to go in the freezer. And possibly with some rice and ready to go to make a bowl and just to be there. Let's see, any more questions? Oh, I hate it when it jumps. When it jumps, then I miss a lot of stuff. I think it's just refreshing. And lots of talk about Tracy's Real Foods, American burgers, and soy milk. And Apple says, for some unknown reason, packaged soy milk without additives is near impossible to find in Canada. I make my own and buy my dry beans at a fabric dyeing shop. Interesting. Tell me more about why there's soybeans at the fabric dyeing shop. I think that's, they are used as a dye fixer. They're completely food safe. That's great. And you can get soybeans, oats, oats, you know, organic, of all the things on Amazon too, if you can't find things at home. I had an auto order in Amazon for soybeans during the pandemic, so I like kind of have a little stock of them from where I wasn't always making things. Someone said it's difficult to find non-GMO soybeans from seeds not controlled by Monsanto, and it could be, and I'm able to find non-GMO soybeans on Amazon. Now, I haven't bought it in a little while, but I was able to find that in organic.
There's somebody asked about those veggie burgers we eat.
We love them. The actual veggie burgers, they have a whole, the black one, the green one, the orange one. There's the pink one and the blue one that are breakfasty burgers. They look like they're
Which we haven't been able to find yet.
No, because I'm dying to try that because
maybe we should look again tonight at Fresh Market.
Okay, and we found a whole bunch of them at Fresh Market. Yes, Fresh Market is expensive. You can order from them online, but I found the bulk black burger package at Fresh Market was significantly cheaper than ordering from them online, even without shipping. So, and they're really good. They hold together well. They're not mushy. We've only had the black ones. I think we'll bring back some more.
Yeah, we cook them a little longer than they say to, and we put them in the air fryer.
The air fryer is going to help it be a little more crispy consistency. If you have a burger that you like a lot but it's kind of mushy, what I've been doing is making smash burgers out of them. Smush it and let them get crunchy.
But those actual veggie burgers are thick. They're like about that thick.
No, about half that.
No, they're thicker than that.
No, they're about that thick.
They're thicker than that.
Do you want to get some?
I'll go get one.
Okay. I'll look through the rest of the questions. I'll send Cheryl out to find it. And there's some more comments on Facebook too, so let me see that. Someone loves the Joy oat powder and uses it for their overnight oats. I think that's great. Chef Julia's travel class has lots of gadgets. I love Chef Julia. So I think that's awesome too. And Mona has them in her freezer, the actual veggie burgers, but hasn't tried them. And do I ever use a dehydrator? If so, what do I make? Yes. And I don't use a proper dehydrator. I have one of the round Nesco ones with the holes. And then I use my Breville a lot. I make a lot of potions and powders, I like to say. So I make my tomato powder, jalapeno powder. I make a vegetable broth. I dry tomatoes and things like that. But I haven't been making like wraps and things like that are super popular right now. Oh, and Karen is saying, actually, it's brown sugar, cane sugar in Tracy's burgers. I would guess not much. I know the sugar in mine is 1 teaspoon per 8 burgers. I use date powder instead. I
guess you were right. It isn't that thick.
You probably didn't. I don't know if you could hear that or not, but that was Cheryl saying I was right. And as a married, oh, no, but it's thicker than what I thought. I think it's in between what both of us were saying. So, and it's all kinds of frozen.
The bulk bag has them. Doesn't have them individually wrapped like the smaller box that we used to get.
Okay.
The bulk bag has them
Here,
like.
come in where people can see.
The
We
bulk
could just
bag,
leave it sit here.
Yeah. The bulk bag has them more like they do like the Beyond Burgers where they're
Like
just
that and a piece of
wax
paper,
paper like in between them.
But that's why they're cheaper. They take less packaging. And these actual veggie burgers you can find either in the refrigerated section in the thing that looks kind of like Beyond Burgers, or you can find it in the freezer section. That's where we found this little, and by bulk it was like, what, 6 or 8 patties?
6 or 8 in there.
It's not crazy. It's not like
it might
Costco.
Be 6. It might be 6.
Fingers crossed. Let's all have a general thought out to the universe that Costco will get these, because that
And
would
like
be
a 12-pack.
That would be brilliant. Fergus, do you want to come say hi?
Hey, buddy.
And then I'll get back to the question. Come here, Fergus.
But yeah, I love these, and I usually like in the past she would get like those Dr. Prager burgers, and I would always be like, no, I am not touching that, because it had vegetables in it. I didn't want one that had vegetables in it. So these actually, they have chunks of vegetables in it, and I really do like them a lot. I'm gonna put this in a freezer.
Okay, and this is Fergus, and he says hello. He did not want to sit in my lap. Okay, Betsy's saying, if it's okay to ask this, yes. And if it's not, I just won't answer sometimes, but there's almost nothing. Do you have thoughts on nutritional yeast, fortified versus unfortified? Excuse me. I love nutritional yeast. It's delicious. I am also not allergic to nutritional yeast. So some people have some sensitivities, and you can't have it, right? There are people who feel very strongly about fortified versus non-fortified, and that has to do about added vitamins and things like that. So go with your best instinct. If you're following Chef AJ, she likes non-fortified. And so all that means is that some artificial B vitamins have been put in. And I don't really have a personal opinion about that. I know Dr. McDougall likes you to not have added vitamins, except for B12, that you take on a moderate schedule. So my opinion is that I love it. And I think it makes everything taste better. And Karen says, I haven't found the actual veggie burger. You've got to stop moving your hands. You're making me crazy.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm itchy still. So.
I'm seeing it in 2 different places, and it's like it's taking my train of thought away. But you could just put them on your legs or something, and you can even itch underneath there.
Okay.
Yeah. I just can't see it 3 places. Sorry for that. Costco can get them, but it never seems to keep things long. Absolutely. I know how that is. So thank you. Do you need to keep nutritional yeast refrigerated? No, you do not. And I do have a bunch of different nutritional yeasts, and I was talking about us doing a nooch off where we taste them and just give you our honest opinions, and maybe that's something we could do together.
Yeah, okay.
Because we have different taste profiles, so that could be interesting for you guys.
Well, honestly, I don't know that I always can taste the nooch.
Oh, you can.
I feel like it all tastes the same to me. Like, it'll be interesting to see if it all tastes the same to me, I guess.
And see, so far I've not met a nooch I don't like, but I've never tried them individually like this, so I'm curious about how that will work. But I have like Well Your World, I've got Noochylicious, I've got I've got a whole bunch, and we'll get a couple more too to do that. So we'll make sure that that's one of them. And Diana says, my family loves the DB's organic Freezy Pops for a sweet. I don't know anything about them, but let me see if I can find out what it says. But if you're looking for something for your family, you can always make smoothies and put them in little popsicle molds. Right now at TJ Maxx, Home Goods, Marshalls, they're doing summer clearances, so you can get popsicle molds really cheap. All right.
Oh, they're super fruits.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to get to where I can, here we go, get to the ingredients. Yeah, you are itching like a maniac
I can't
today.
help it.
They certainly have good advertising, I'll tell you that. And they have a thing that just says ingredients right at the top. Ingredients with integrity, it says. Always organic, flavor from fruit. Okay, it's fruit juice and puree. And I think you have to go to, here we go, classic, tropical. They're not giving, okay, let me go to shop now so I can get the actual ingredient. Do you not give the actual? Oh, there we go. Okay. So in peach passion fruit, there's organic apple juice.
Those are completely compliant.
Oh, and Cheryl's looking at the nutritional label. And I can't, since I'm on this computer, I can't put it up there. But it's something with the calories, the fat, and the added sugars. So organic white grape juice, organic peach juice, organic passion fruit juice, organic guar gum, organic peach flavoring. So I think it's fine. I know that some people try not to have any kind of juice. So for those of you who are like, I think juice is bad, I would not have these. However, that's not everybody. And I think if your kids like them and that's getting some fruit in them that wouldn't otherwise get fruit in them, I think that's a pretty awesome thing.
For 25 calories, I totally would have one of those as a snack at night.
And yeah, I'm trying to think too, like a lot of the creamy pints, so I'm still not willing to share my experimental creamy pint, but if you're a rebel, you can do it. I've been using leftover steel cut oatmeal from mornings if we don't eat it all, putting some non-dairy milk, vanilla, and date syrup or maple syrup in there and some vanilla. So, I mean, I think you can make a delicious frozen treat or I've also done, I have fresh peaches and I just smash the fresh peaches in and either add some pear puree or some non-dairy milk and live my best life. I think it's not only okay to have some sort of sweeter treat if it doesn't trigger you, and only you know that, but we were talking about my oatmeal. I love sweet breakfast. I like muffins and pancakes and stuff like that. But you know what? I've not had one craving for that because I've been, like this week, I took some frozen blackberries, put it in the microwave, zested a lemon, and put a little bit of maple syrup in my oats, and that tastes better than any muffin's ever going to taste. So I think the same thing, if these are working well and they work for whatever your plan and how you want to eat is, I think it's great. We got some more now. I'd like to watch a nooch off. Me too. That's why I want to do it. Have you tried the falafel savory bites yet? That's about the other person who makes the burgers. I get mine from my little natural store. I just flip my bag and go. Yeah, fill up my bag and go, talking about nutritional yeast. And you can get them in bulk. They're usually, I don't know why, I see the label and I can't think what it is. They have all the stuff in bulk and I get that a lot too. I'll show you in a minute probably. Once over a year ago, I was able to get a pack of actual burgers out of Costco and I was traveling. Yeah, and that's the thing too. So like, not be out of character for us for while we go, or in Sacramento, to try and see if we can Uber to a Costco or to see if there's some things available and take them home for sure. Lisa says, I only get the unfortified nutritional yeast, but I do find that I have to use about twice as much as the recipe calls for because it just doesn't have that cheesy flavor. That would be interesting. We'll have both to try. Oh, Liz, that's awesome. I just made your ranch dressing and put some additional fresh herbs in it. I love it. Excellent. We've been...
Yeah, it's really good.
It's delicious. And the thing is it's super easy. It's super easy. And Marilyn says, I always buy organic soybeans, and at the very least, you should buy non-GMO ones, unless you have different feelings about that, and it's your life and your body. But I like Butler's Soy Curls use non-GMO soybeans. Liz says, try icing your arms. It will help the itch.
Yeah, this stuff is drying me out now. Like see how my skin is all dry and wrinkly.
She just had poison ivy so bad. What's the name of that frozen burger? Are you talking about actually veggies? Actually veggies. Oh, and Diana says frozen grapes are great. Okay, if you guys don't have any other questions, I think we have spent a lovely 2 hours together, and we need to eat. We're actually Martinez Evans?
I think that's his last name.
Oh, let me, he's doing like a little talk. He does this great Slow AF running club for people of all sizes and all exercise levels. He doesn't live here, but he just wrote a book. So he's coming to the running shoe store, and we're going to listen to him talk and take a 1 mile walk. So we need to have an early dinner, and I'm super excited. We'll tell you more about that and how all that plays out. But other than that, it's just been awesome hanging out with you guys. Do you have any parting words or inspiration?
Nope, just keep at it. Every day is a new day, and just do your best. And we will keep you updated on how everything goes. I hope next time I see you guys, I'll be able to tell you that I'm at 20 pounds lost. So.
Well, let's not make lofty goals very quickly. That's a big goal for seeing somebody a week. So I would.
Is it just going to be a week?
Yeah, okay. We haven't talked about this, but yes, it's probably going to be a week. So we support you. We're here to answer any questions and help you in any way that we can. But again, we are not medical professionals. You have to look to what you're doing. And if you're doing like Dr. Esselstyn for a heart issue, or Dr. McDougall for diabetes, or whatever it is, if we can help you with the eating plan, we certainly will. And Nora, you need to email me that to remember to do my ranch post, because I won't see this again. And I'm telling you, because Cheryl's going to be helping me do a few things for the blog, I hope. So I made it recently, so I should be able to, because posting a recipe seems really easy, but I have to pull the images from a video, edit each image, put that up, and then I have to make it Google friendly too. So I'm never just blowing you off, I promise. So be kind to service workers. Remember to ask people for help when you need it. I think that would be a good thought of the day, because I was just in a meeting of some lovely business people who are just delightful women. And I think what I got out of that, by me just telling them some stuff and just saying, hey, I got this great feedback. And then another person kind of started talking about what they needed help with and got really good feedback. So the same way Cheryl's telling people what's going on, and again, your cranky sister who's on the carnivore diet is not going to be the one that's going to help you. So don't go over there, but someone who can just support you where you are and not judge you. Find those people in your life and be that person in somebody else's life, okay? We'll talk to you guys really soon. Big hugs, and we know if we can do it, you guys can do it. Okay? Have a great week.